This is the Sixth Man Show, an Orlando Magic podcast, with your hosts, Kevin Tucker and Jonathan Osborne, covering all things Magic basketball. By fans, for fans. Go Magic!
What's going on, Orlando Magic fans? You guys are back with the Sixth Man Show. Today is July 28th, 2025. Jonathan Osborne here, as always, joined by my co-host, Kevin Tucker. Kevin, what's up, man?
Yo, what's up? Another day, another episode, another opportunity to talk about our favorite team, and this time with one of our favorite people. You have to be joined by Drew Gooden. You guys will enjoy that conversation that we had with him here later in the show. But yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Great. We have to mention the real Drew Gooden, not the NBA Drew Gooden, but the comedian, YouTube personality, and
former
and
Magic player, by the way. You know, the NBA Drew Gooden played for the Magic for a short amount of time, but not nearly as important or valid these days in the Magic world as the real Drew Gooden. So yeah, glad to have him on.
In all seriousness, I do think our Drew Gooden is the most relevant and famous Drew Gooden at this current period in time.
Yeah.
Amongst the younger generation, especially.
Of course.
If you ask a 17-year-old, they will almost certainly know who our Drew Gooden is. There was a bald dude that played basketball. I have no idea who that is.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember. You might remember this too. Was Drew Gooden at one point? Didn't he also have the haircut where it was bald on top and he had a small stretch
patch
a little patch of hair on the back? Yeah, that's an L right there.
Have you ever thought of doing that?
No, absolutely not. Can't say that I have. But yeah, for that reason and that reason alone, I'm picking this Drew Gooden.
Yeah, love it so much. Yeah, no, he's awesome. Always really fun to get his perspective, and it's so cool, knowing what he does and how much he puts into his profession, but also how locked in he still is. Very normal dude. Just really is. As all the success that he's had, he's still one of the boys, and that's why we love Drew and having him on. So that conversation was a ton of fun. Really quickly, just had to say this because people have asked me, knowing that I love golf and I love Adam Sandler. Happy Gilmore too, Kevin. I'm not going to say don't watch it because I do think it's worth the watch. But just go into it knowing that the first hour is exponentially better than the second hour of it. The second hour of it is legitimately awful.
Yikes.
But, still a lot of cameos, a lot of fun, a lot of fan service in it. But the second half gets a little... They lose the plot. Literally lost the plot in that. But
I still need to see the OG. I haven't seen... I've seen a bunch of scenes, obviously, the Bob Barker scene, all that kind of stuff. Okay, well... Since Jonathan left, you guys have been watching the Sixth Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. Just kidding. Please don't leave. Cool. I guess I'm doing the show by myself. Jonathan's gone.
You have actually got to be freaking joking.
I feel like we've talked about this before, but I've never seen it.
Goodness,
but it's one of those movies, there's so many scenes that have been on YouTube and social media and stuff. You feel like you've seen, I know the plot. Obviously, I've seen him swing the club in the most wild and wacky way, which is very entertaining. But no, I have not seen the whole movie. Sue me.
That's wild.
It's hey, the Bob Barker stuff was very funny. At least I know that.
No, definitely a classic. But yeah, second one, wouldn't say it's a classic. There is some my favorite part is the PG, the actual real life professional golfers that are in it, Jordan Spieth, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, Ricky Fowler, those guys in it have some genuinely incredible moments, especially Scotty Scheffler. Spoiler alert, he gets arrested at one point in the movie. He's oh, not again. Him able to, poke fun at that kind of stuff is really great. But anyways, back to business here, folks. We announced a couple weeks ago that we are looking for a new host of the Sixth Fan Show. We're going to keep those submissions open for about another week before we really start reaching out to people and doing interviews, all that kind of stuff. So if you have any interest in hosting the Sixth Fan Show, not the podcast here, but the Sixth Fan Show that we do outside of Kia, 10 to 15 times a year and after playoff games, if you're interested, if you are local to Orlando, we also have to remind people of that. You have to be local to Orlando. But if you're interested in that, we'll put the link in the YouTube video description and the podcast description. We have a Google form that will need you to fill out in a quick, minute to 2 minute, video submission, like telling us why you think that you're a good fit for that. And like, let your personality come through on that. Like, that's what we're looking for. Like, you have to kind of be a personality to do this. Like, we want it to be entertaining and engaging and everything like that. So if you haven't done so already, again, we're going to leave that open for like another week or so to just make sure you guys get those in if you're interested at all.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Jonathan said, we've had a few people, I think, a little confused or not understand, thinking, we're looking for a host of this show. This show is covered. Unfortunately, you're stuck with me and you're stuck with Jonathan, at least for now. But yeah, we're talking about the Six Fan Show. And if you haven't seen that, you don't know what that is, you can go check it out on our YouTube page. But yeah,
I don't like that you're saying for now.
I mean, look, all things come to an end, right? You never know. But,
I had a dream recently that Kev was like, dude, I'm done.
Oh my god!
So now he's making me a little nervous here. So
yeah, not yet.
No. Okay, perfect. Okay, we do have some Magic news. The Magic have signed guard Jamal McCain to a 2-way contract. As they're like really starting to fill out the training camp roster. I'm sure in the probably next month and a half we'll start to get some more like Exhibit 10 training camp contract and those types of deals to come out. But just a little bit about Jamal McCain. Actually, not a guard, more of like a wing, as a matter of fact. 6'7". For some reason I thought 6'5", but that obviously is not correct. According to Basketball Reference anyway, they might be giving him, never mind. I was about to say a sentence that yep, definitely not going to say that. Yep. Yeah, sure. So Jamal Cain went to Marquette, started his career with the Miami Heat, just like our recent 2-way signing, Orlando Robinson. Played a couple years with the Heat. Last year, played with New Orleans Pelicans, and he appeared in 37 games with the slew of injuries that they had, and he averaged 5.3 points per game, 2.3 rebounds. He shot, 43% from the floor, 32% from behind the arc, so not necessarily like a knockdown shooter, but excited to see what he can bring to the roster. So Jamal McCain on a 2-way, and then Jace Richardson, after the strong summer league showing that he has signed a multi-year shoe deal with Nike. So another member of the Nike family on the Magic roster, joining like Franz, Wagner, Paolo, Banchero, obviously. Happy for Jace Richardson and looking forward to see him hooping in some Nikes.
Yeah, it's very cool. Very happy for him. And it's gonna be interesting to see, I don't know. I guess I can't talk. It's always interesting with rookies to see where they go because, obviously, I mean, we've played 2K before, right? There's all these brands that line up, and 2K is 100% accurate, like to real life, I know. But I'm sure there are all these brands that line up, and like the smaller brands, more than likely, are for certain guys throwing a lot of money at them to try and get them, versus a Nike where it's like they've got all the big names and everything. So I'm always curious what that is like that ultimate decision. Like, do I go with what's tried and true and what I've maybe grown up wearing my whole life? I'm a Nike guy or whatever, or this random company from China or whatever that's offer me double that. Do I just sell out and go for it? I don't know. It's always interesting to me, but yeah, cool to see him go with Nike and excited to see him, like you said, hoop this year in some Nikes.
Apart from like these guys being in the NBA, which of course we're envious of, we'd love to, be talented enough to be able to do that. But
someday, Jonathan, someday.
No, my day, I can assure you, that small window that I had where maybe it was a possibility. No, it was absolutely never happening. But like, I always think it's cool when these guys sign these shoe deals. Like, Quentin Richardson always talks about like his, sponsorship essentially, and his deal with Jordan, like being part of the Jordan family. Like, he gets every single Jordan that comes out. Like, they're sending him clothes and shoes like year round to wear. Like, that would be so sick. They just sent me the newest Nikes, to wear wherever I go. And, like you're never wanting for, brand new shoes. Like I've worn Air Forces like pretty religiously for like the past, I don't know, 16, 17 years, just like pure white, like the clean, like Air Force Ones. And like after 6-7 months, they'll start to get a little bit creased, start to, not be as, shiny and all that kind of stuff. And I find myself buying yet another pair of Air Forces, the same shoe I've worn for 17 years. And it's like, it would just be cool if like every 6 months I just got a brand new free pair of Air Forces in the mail. So good for Jace. Doesn't have to worry about Air Force. I mean, given who his dad is and the money he's making now, he doesn't have to worry about Air Forces anyways.
Right.
But, to get them for free, hey, that's always nice,
Yeah.
So good for him. And excited. And you know what else I'm excited for is eventually to get like the Paolo Banchero like signature shoe. Like when Jordan, probably another year or two, I think we're away from that. But like the P5 signature shoe to come out, gonna be really sick. Maybe he'll have another, kind of colorway like they did with the Jordan Air, last year. Sure, we'll get another version of that at some point, but looking forward to like the eventual signature shoe from Paolo Banchero. Sure. And then, one last little announcement here. So this coming Wednesday, so the episode will come out Thursday of this week as you're listening to this, is going to be our Anything But Magic episode where we're answering all of your questions as long as they don't have anything to do with the Magic. So answering all questions that have anything to do with the Orlando Magic. So we've already got a ton of those. Kev has like a running document that he keeps updating with that. So whether you want to email that to us, comment it in like the YouTube comment, send that to a direct message, or, like add us on Twitter, whatever you want to do, be sure to get those in before July. And like some of the before Wednesday, goodness gracious. I guess that's going to be the last day of July. So before July ends. Yep. But the questions that we've got so far, I think this is shaping up to be even more fun than it was last year. Yeah, which I'm excited for.
A lot of submissions.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting, very entertaining, and again, you'll see a side of us you never see because this is stuff we never talk about on the show, and it's always a good time.
Yeah, looking forward to that. So get those questions in. You're probably safe if you get those in before like 6 or 7 o'clock on Wednesday. Yeah. After that, we can make no guarantees that we'll see it and be able to add it into the show. And probably going to be a lengthy pod, but it's just like fun. We get to talk about stuff that otherwise we wouldn't have the opportunity to. So, all right. Let's now, without further ado, get into our just ton of fun, really awesome conversation that we had with our friend Drew Gooden. And now, Magic fans, we are joined by a very special guest, our good friend, YouTuber, and comedian, the real Drew Gooden. Drew Gooden, what's going on, man? Thanks for taking the time. How have you been?
I've been great. Thanks so much for introducing me as the real Drew Gooden. I know you're a basketball podcast, so you would think that the other one would take priority, but I don't know. How many times has he been on the show? And how many times have I been on the show? So
that's exactly right.
Yeah,
a great friend of the show now. I'm trying to think how many times you've been on this show now. This is probably like 5 or 6, maybe probably, something like that. Yeah,
at least 5. It's becoming a yearly tradition every summer. When you guys run out of things to talk about, and you're like, well, we got to get Drew on. I don't know. We're just killing time here, man.
Listen,
I don't know.
That's not entirely inaccurate.
Hey, I know how the off
have you on any
works.
time of the season, but
but that means if you've been on 5 or 6 times, I know the other Drew Gooden has been on less than 1 time. So you have beat him definitely so far. But what does the summer look like for Drew Gooden? By the way, I guess I should just say, for those that don't know, yes, Drew, you might know him from YouTube, but deep down, Drew is a diehard Orlando Magic fan. Not even deep down, very open about it. It's not a secret. But yeah, so in case you didn't know that or didn't know who Drew is, like we said, he's a friend of the show, been on a few times, and a diehard Magic fan. What does Drew do in the summer? There's no Magic basketball. There's no Dolphins football. I know you're a Dolphins fan. What does the summer look like for Drew Gooden?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's always a little sad during the summer because, like, I guess there's baseball, but I've never been a big baseball guy. So for me, summer is like there's no sports that I really care about. The weather's miserable. I just want to fast forward to like football season, and especially this year, basketball season. I can't wait. I'm so pumped for just seeing the new jerseys, the new court, not the new court, but the new colors on the court, and just October's gonna be so fun. I can't wait to be at opening night. But the summer is just like you're just looking at your watch, like what do I do? And so I'm in LA this summer. I've got a couple like shows I'm doing, and just kind of working on some videos out here and some collabs, and enjoying the not so terrible weather. And it's been a lot of fun so far.
So speaking of the new jersey and logos and the new court, the last time that Kevin and I saw you was at the unveiling event. What was that? Like the beginning of June? We all were sitting together at that event, tons of fun. But like things happened so quickly, like everybody rushed down to like the merch pop up. We didn't get a ton of time to talk to you about that after. Like, what were your thoughts on like that event in general? But then also the logo, the jerseys, the court, the merch. Like,
That was so fun. I mean, I think like I know that there were kind of rumors about it coming, but I was kind of out of the loop on that. So when I got a text, I think it was someone from the Magic that morning was just like, "Do you want to come?" Or the day before, like, "Do you want to come to this thing?" And I'm thinking, well, it's got to be like a rebrand or something because it's such random timing for anything else. So I was so pumped, and I know a lot of fans were kind of clamoring for an update, and I just think it was. I was really excited when I saw it. It was like best of both worlds, where it's like got this kind of modern spin, but it's definitely an ode to the classic Magic look, which are, we've had so many great uniforms over the years, and then we kind of ended up with some not so great ones for a while comparatively. But I just think it's a perfect time for it too, because the team's on the rise, and then we make that big trade, and it's like there's a lot more clarity with the roster, and it just feels like this is the next few years are like this is our window is now opened up, and so it couldn't be better timing with the rebrand. I know they'd worked on it for a couple of years. I'm glad they unveiled it when they did, because like imagine if they did this and then we did had those couple of rebuilding years, it would have tainted it a little bit. But I think this is a perfect off season for this. I'm pumped about it. I'm dangerously optimistic about this team. I'm really setting myself up for some heartbreak, but that's sports. At least in my experience, that's sports. For some people, it's not. For some people, sports is great. For me, it's usually like, maybe this year? No.
Yep. Hey, we know the feeling all too well.
Yeah.
Going back to the rebrand really fast, I'm curious, Amanda, your wife, is, pretty fashion forward. She's a great photographer, takes all kinds of, great pictures of models and all that kind of stuff. What is her opinion of the rebrand? Has she seen it? Does she have opinion on the logo, the jerseys, all that kind of stuff? Is she in, or is she like?
Yeah, she loved it. No, she was. We got the Amanda stamp of approval, so
good.
I think that's a good sign.
Most important stamp.
Absolutely, I think it's a good sign we're headed in the right direction. So she liked the uniforms a lot. I think she really liked the statement ones the most, the black ones. Yeah. But the whole Gooden household is excited. Even my cat.
Even your cat. Love that.
Yeah.
So. You talk about your level of expectations, like where are you? Because we kind of go back and forth. There's a pretty good dynamic on the show here. I'm like the hopeless optimistic, and Kevin sometimes will join in on the fun, but then has to, be the Debbie Downer, bring us back to reality sometimes, which is definitely needed, and I do appreciate it. Where are you at current day?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely right in the heart of the off season. I've been doing this my whole life with football too, where it's like, there's really no reason to be pessimistic right now because anything could happen. So I'm like, sky's the limit. But if, it's hard because it's like the potential's there. I really like the roster. But it's going to come down to injuries, and you hate to even talk about it or speculate about it, but that's been the history of the team. So it's like, but that it could also happen to any team. It could happen to any player, a catastrophic injury that we saw during the playoffs. And that's part of why the East feels so wide open, because of these like kind of freak injuries. So anything could happen, but because anything could happen, I'm clinging to hope that we're like, I think on paper, we're like one of the best 3 teams in the East this year. I think we've got a lot of depth to get through the season. Even if guys do go down, I think as long as it's nothing major and it's just like a few games here and there, I think we can go on a run, and then it's just going to come down to, getting over the hump in the playoffs, which for the past 2 years has been like first round exits. But I think, if I was kind of saying the same thing last year when we came off the Cavs series, and we were thinking if we just keep exponentially better every year, then now we try to get a top 4 seed. We have an easier matchup in the first round. Maybe we get to the second round or third round. And but I think that's a lot. I think that's a lot more of a possibility this year. We've got some extra shooting. I love both our moves with Tyus Jones and Desmond Bane. But I also, this time last year, I was praising KCP. I was like, this is it. We cracked the code. So I don't know. I'm cautiously optimistic, but definitely more optimistic than cautious. I don't know.
There you go. It's a step in the right direction. Hopefully it isn't. Our dreams don't get crushed. Going back to the Desmond Bane move, did you see that coming? Like, what was your initial reaction to that? Because I know, like Jonathan said, we just saw you, less than 2 weeks earlier, and it was like, okay, cool, Then Father's Day rolls around and our phones go off Sunday morning. Like, what in the world? We knew the Magic were going to push the chips in at some point. Did that surprise you that this was the move that they made to do that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the timing was surprising just because the finals weren't even over yet, too, right? It was still like, that was before Halliburton got hurt. I'm also on the West Coast. I was on the West Coast at that point, so I woke up to it. It was like 8 a.m. or whatever, and I was just so confused because it's like, for the past few months, even the past couple of years, there's like these names that get floated around a lot in trade rumors, and I think like Kobe White, and there are a few people in the radar, and Desmond Bane was not one of them at all. So my first reaction was just like, like I had to really stop and think about it for a bit, and it seemed like a lot of picks were giving up, but like, but I love the fit. I honestly didn't realize how good of a shooter Desmond Bane was, like statistically. Like I knew he was pretty good, but then seeing the numbers, and it's just like, even considering how everyone who comes to Orlando forgets how to shoot, it's still like he might be the one guy who's Orlando Magic curse proof, where he's just so good as a shooter that he won't just mysteriously lose 10% on his shooting percentage or whatever. But the more time went on, and the more like podcasts I listened to, and the more I really thought about it, and then you look at the contracts we got rid of, and the players we got rid of, and it's like, as much as we love Cole, that was a lot of money you're paying for a guy who you're not even sure if he's in the rotation come playoff time, and then KCP was such a disappointment, that it's like you swap those two guys for this guy, and then the starting lineup makes sense. I think also my initial reaction too was like, I just felt like what the roster really needed was a point guard, because I still feel like Jalen is a little bit better as a 2 than as the main initiator. But then again, it's like, if Franz and Paolo are going to handle the ball most of the time, maybe that's not the most important thing, and it is just spacing. So I don't know. It's we'll see how it goes, but I'm very, very much in on it, and I think it took me like 20 minutes to go from being a little skeptical to like, brilliant, we did it. it was pretty fast that I came around on it. So
totally valid emotions. I think we all kind of went through the same thing. Like at first it's the sticker shock of like, oh my gosh, this is 4 first-round picks, but then you're like, man, F them picks. We're about to potentially win a title here, So
yeah, what do we need the 27th overall pick 3 years from now for? It's like,
what do we need the kid that's 13 years old, like eating pancakes on Father's Day right now, right, sometime in the future. But we interrupt this episode to bring you a word from our friends over at Jam Hot Chicken. Not only over at Jam are they massive, diehard Orlando Magic fans, but they are proudly serving the city. Beautiful Jam Hot Chicken is bringing Jam's culture and hot chicken to the heart of Winter Park. And Jam Hot Chicken is a Nashville and LA-inspired hot chicken shack, locally owned and operated in Winter Park, Florida, over there at 400 West New England Avenue, Suite 13 in beautiful Hannibal Square. Be sure to follow them at Jam Hot Chicken on all social media. Head over to jamhotchickenfl.com. You can find their menu, order online, and find all things Jam Hot. And if you're local, don't want to leave the house, be sure to download the Uber Eats app. Yes, you can now find Jam Hot Chicken on Uber Eats and get it delivered straight to your door. And when you stop by, let them know that your friends over at the Six Man Show sent you.
Speaking of friends, I want to tell you about 5 of our friends: Jose Marrero, Dylan Fay, Jared Cooper, Austin Lampy, and Jamel Miller. Those are 5 of our Hall of Fame and elite tier patrons. They went to patreon.com/the6man show and decided to financially support the show using one of the many tiers that we have available. All the way down as little as $2, you can support what we're doing here at the show. If you believe in our mission, which is to grow this Orlando Magic fan base and always provide the great content that we believe this fan base deserves, you can join us too. Again, that's patreon.com/the6man show and join us in this mission. Now let's get back to the episode.
I wanted to ask you, because you've kind of been, exposed to a move like this with the Dolphins a few years ago, where it's like you have this young, talented roster, then they make the move for Tyreek Hill, and hindsight is 2020. It's worked out, but it also kind of maybe hasn't. I'd love to get your opinion on that. But how would you compare your levels of optimism, like Dolphins after the Tyreek Hill trade, and now like the Magic re-signing Paolo Banchero, trading for Desmond Bane? Like, how do you compare those two?
That is a good comparison. I think as a Dolphins fan, like we've won a lot of off seasons and it doesn't always translate. So I was a little bit more like, I was very optimistic. I think that was also when we, I can't remember the left, Teron Armstead. We also signed him. That was a big signing that when we got Tyreek, and it just felt like we're making these big moves and, we're right around the corner. And then it was like hot start, fizzle out a couple years in a row. And that's just been a disappointment. But I think with the Bane trade, it felt a little bit more calculated. It didn't feel like, well, this is just what the Magic do. They're always making these big desperation trades or whatever, where maybe with the Dolphins, it's a little bit more like just keep throwing money at the problem and hope you fix it. But this was like this front office. It was almost uncharacteristic with the way they've been, where it's like they've been so patient, much to the frustration of a lot of fans, where it's like, just come on, do something. You know what we need, make the move. Like, which guys aren't working out on the roster. What problem needs to be addressed, and then they finally do it, and it's like, this is why why you're patient, because if you feel like this is the perfect move, this is the perfect use of those assets. There's an opportunity cost also with trades, where it's like, if we gave some of those first round picks for Kobe White or whoever, or a lesser player, just because we knew last year, well, maybe we just really need shooting, and it's like, maybe that helps us win a game or two extra against Boston, but it's like, but then we're a worse team now and we have fewer assets to work with. It's like, it all makes sense now. It's like, okay, the team, Jeff Weltman talked about it. We're going to make a big move, and he backed it up. And I feel like, because it just feels like such a great fit, and because it's not something that the Magic do very often, it felt like they were waiting for the exact right move. I'm a little bit more optimistic than I was with a lot of the Dolphins moves, where I'm just sort of like, well, this is what they do,
Yeah, and I think one of the things that maybe not all Magic fans are seeing, but certainly not the national media is seeing or remembering, like, yeah, the Magic are in the news this summer because the acquisitions, Desmond Bane, Tyus Jones, rebrand, all that kind of stuff. But I think what's being lost oftentimes is the hopeful, natural progression of the players we currently have. Paolo, Franz, Jalen, etc. Guys who, unfortunately, last season kind of, that got put on hold for a little bit, right? Because they were out for such a significant amount of time. But like you mentioned, 2 seasons ago, you win 47 games, you push the Cavs to 7 in the first round. And like you said, you're expecting that natural progression last year. It doesn't happen with injuries. I'd like to think that progression continues this year, which is part of the contributing factor to why I think a lot of people are so excited. But I wanted to ask you specifically about a progression. Obviously, we wear very Magic colored glasses on this show, as do you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, when we think about Paolo, and you've been a Magic fan for a long time, you've seen some of the best. I think we're pretty close in age. You've seen some of the best players in Magic history with your own eyes, and now we have this Paolo guy who's still, I think, 22, 23, whatever he is.
Yeah.
Where's your ceiling for him? Like, right now, where do you think he can end up based on what we've seen so far through 3 years?
I think, considering how incredible he was in the playoffs against one of the best teams in the league with no spacing around him, the way he gets defended there are very few players who get defended the way he does, because a lot of players as good as him have better shooters at the very least around them. So you can't just like you can't have 4 guys in the paint just like making sure Paolo can't do anything. And the fact that he still can rise to the moment and just hit these tough shots. And I think he shot really well from 3 in the playoffs too. It's like there's I guess the limit is how good of a shooter he can be, because he just seems so athletically gifted. I mean, he is so athletically gifted, and it's like, it's almost frustrating sometimes when it's like, you're so much bigger and stronger and better than everyone on the court. Just get to the rim, and and then he does, and it just looks so easy when he does it. And but he's just working on so many aspects of his game that it's like, and you can tell he works hard. He loves basketball. I really think he could be like one of the 5 best players in the NBA, especially with like the way the league is right now, and a lot of the main big stars that we grew up watching or have watched the past 10, 15 years. A lot of them are kind of on their way out now, and there is sort of this new wave of young stars, and I think he can absolutely be one of the 5 best. And I think if he was on a bigger market team, he would be talked about so differently. I mean, I think that's kind of the sign of like how good of a player he is, where it's like, if he was on, even even Chicago, a team that's not like the Lakers, but even just like he'd be like one of they talk about him nonstop. But because he's on Orlando, it's like, well, he's a shot chucker, he's inefficient. Let's ignore the situation he's in because we don't watch the games, we don't watch the Magic. But they'll see. I think once we start to win more playoff series and go further and have the success that I think we're capable of having and that he's capable of having, I think everyone will kind of realize that he has a lot of potential to be one of the best in the league.
I think for me, at least, that is one of the more frustrating things, just because we get to watch him on a nightly basis and we see how good he is. And when you can watch the games and you have all the context and then you see the numbers for what they are and given the situation, and we all realize just how good he is. But then you see the league like every 5 minutes, like shoving like Victor Wembanyama in your face for obvious reasons, of course. But it just doesn't really ever make sense. Is like, why don't you push this guy who is so clearly like one of the next like up and coming young guys? And Drew, a few minutes ago, you talked about some of the concerns with the roster, like maybe Jalen Suggs is a point guard, maybe he's not, maybe he's a shooting guard, and is hopeful and lofty as some of our expectations might be. Like maybe they can make a finals run. Like that's probably pretty unlikely. But like for them to take that next step, whether that's win a playoff series or win 2 playoff series, in your mind, what are some of the biggest questions that you still have or like concerns that you have about this team?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it goes back to Franz learning how to shoot again. We talked about it last year and we were pretty optimistic. He was so bad 2 years ago shooting. Was he even worse from 3 this year, or was he better?
Just a little better.
Little better. Okay. Hey, 1% per year, eventually he'll be league average in like year 7. That's just something that continues to baffle me. I don't understand it. I know he said some, I guess last year with the oblique, I was going to say he's had some injury problems, but he hasn't really outside of last year. He's been playing year round, so it's like maybe he just doesn't have enough time to work on it in the off season, but it's just so confounding and frustrating because he was so good, or at least above average as a shooter, when he started his career. And now it's just like, it's got to be a confidence thing. But then even then it's like, now you have 2 full years of like of a body of work that shows that he's just not. So if it is a confidence thing, even if it's like a mental thing and not a physical thing, well, it's like, it's going to continue to be in his head until he fixes it. So that's probably my biggest concern, because he does have, so much potential as well. In addition to Paolo, like, because the way he was scoring too in the playoffs, he's so nimble and creative, and he's so fun to watch. And the fact that he's doing all that while shooting so inconsistently to the point where he's not even getting, any respect from the defense behind the 3-point line. It's like, if he just had that, if Paolo was considered, those guys, it would be so much easier for them. So that's probably the biggest one, because he's our second, best player. But I think health is the big one. I think, Jalen, it's like, I love Jalen. I love the way he plays, but, you can't necessarily point to his injuries as like freak accidents, because the way he plays is kind of reckless, and you can tell he's putting a lot of wear and tear on his body. So if he can maybe save a little bit of that for the playoffs and not go, it's just probably not in his nature to go less than 110%. But, that's a big one. You hope that we have him down the stretch. He would have made a huge difference in the playoffs last year. And then it's Anthony Black, who I think that's another great thing about the Bane trade, is that we gave up the 2 assets we gave up are guys that we didn't really envision in our future anyway. But I have a lot of high hopes for AB, especially after the playoffs, because at least in the home games, I went to games 3 and 4, and there was one stretch in one of them where he had 2 steals in a row. I think he had like 6 points in a row or something. It was just like, I feel like and for someone so young and still kind of undersized, it's like, for him to have that dog in him in that moment, it's like, that's a good sign. That's someone where it's like, okay, as we continue to mature as a team, I think he can be, play an important role in the playoffs and be a crucial part of the lineup, when the games get more important. So I think those are probably my biggest ones. And then you just hope that, you hope that Bane continues to shoot, and that Tyus Jones can carve out a role, and J.I. can stay healthy, and be better this year because he, was healthier last year, but at the cost of like kind of being terrible at basketball. So it's, it's a lot of like, I hope everyone is good and healthy, which is easy, a simple answer, but it's just, that's kind of what it comes down to. The guys we added to the team need to shoot, and our guys need to shoot well, and they all need to not get hurt. Everyone needs to play 82 games.
It sounds simple, but then obviously we have a season like last year, and you're like, well, sounds
Crazy.
impossible at the same time. So obviously you've talked about your optimism. You're super excited for the season. A couple seasons ago, if I remember right, you and Amanda went to a road game at MSG against the Knicks. Am I remembering this correctly? And it was miserable, right?
Yeah, it was like March it was near the end of not last season, but the season before. And it was our lowest scoring game of the year. I think we had like 78 points or something. It was abysmal. And I spent a pretty good chunk of change on those tickets too. And I brought my friend who lives in New York, and I was like, he's not a big basketball guy, but I was really talking to the team, and then we just slayed an egg. But it was also crazy because it's like, this is just the difference between the Knicks and the Magic. But it's like you go to a Magic game, and no matter what game you go to, there are fans of the opposing team there. The amount varies depending on what team it is. But there's always like someone wearing but I'm pretty sure in that entire building, we were the only 3 Magic fans. It was crazy. Cool place though. I like the organ player.
That's fun. Right. Yeah. You've seen him on TikTok and stuff. He's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I remember, we had you on the show last summer, and you mentioned that whole game and that disaster and all that kind of stuff. You were like, I kind of enjoyed at least, the Magic road game experience. So I'm wondering, with your optimism for this season, you think you're going to do another one? Like, do you have any road games you've got circled in your mind? Like, you know what? I want to go see the Magic in this city this season.
I'm curious. I've been meaning to do this for a couple of years, but the scheduling hasn't worked out. I'm curious to see when they play the 2 LA games, because those are usually like back to back. So it'd be nice to go to both. I'd really like to see the Clippers' new arena. It looks really cool. Looks like it'll be fun to see in person. Probably won't do MSG again, but yeah, I don't know. I guess it depends on like the matchup. I don't know if there's like one. Because you really have a chance to see any away team you want to see in Orlando, because they're going to come to town at some point. But I could see myself going up to like Atlanta or Charlotte, maybe just somewhere where the tickets would be kind of cheap, so it'd make up for the cost of traveling. But I don't know. It'd be fun to go to more arenas and just kind of see what the vibe is like.
I've been trying to convince Jonathan to go to the Clippers' new arena with me to see the Magic. And hey, maybe this is the year. We'll have to see. But it looks sick.
Kev wants to do a whole West Coast thing. He wants to go see the Intuit Dome, wants to go to Salt Lake. Like he wants to blow like our entire year budget on like a West Coast, kind of road trip. Kevin,
a 4-game stretch in October, and it's all gone for the year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have done the like Atlanta, like Charlotte thing, and those are pretty cool trips. If you're looking for some good fish tacos, I've got a place. Noma's Cantina. To me, they were the best fish tacos I ever had. Kev was like, they're pretty average. They probably were, but I was looking at Kev the whole time, so that like enhances the culinary experience and what I remember from that. But talking
That's
about
really
like. I try. Sometimes I'm pretty mean to him, so I try to, hype him up a little bit, from time to time here. But talking about like MSG and like Knicks fans, you mentioned at Magic games when whoever the away team is, like there's a decent number of those fans, and I wouldn't say it's a point of contention on the show this offseason, but it's a conversation piece that's come up like a few times of like, hey, like, do we want to try to avoid these teams coming into the building for the playoffs? You were at games 3 and 4. At times, it was a little bit rough this year with those Celtics fans in the building. The new kind of attitude that I've adopted the last couple of months, especially since the Desmond Bane trade, is like the Magic should be good enough to beat any team in the league any night. Like we should go into most games believing that not only do we have a chance to win, but that we should win. So I'm kind of like, give me all the smoke. I don't care who it is. I don't care who's, opponent fans are in our building. Like I don't want to be afraid of anybody. I don't want to avoid anybody anymore. Where are you? Like, have you gotten to Jonathan level of delusion just yet? Or are you closer to Kevin levels? Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I think I think it's like as we continue to have more success too, I would hope that it's, goes from being maybe 60-40 Magic fans at like a Celtics game to more like 70-30, and it's just more like as the optimism creeps up, because also the tickets are so expensive, and it's like for a team that's still up and coming and hasn't really proven it yet in the playoffs, I could understand even really big Magic fans being like, well, I don't know if I can justify spending $600 on a game that we'll probably lose because of the state of with our injuries and just, we were the underdogs at that point. So I like to think that like, I agree. I think we can win on any night. And I think as we start to do that, I think that also feeds into like a higher percentage of Magic fans being there. And then you also hope that when it comes to playoff times, maybe we can play like, any team besides the Knicks or Boston. I feel like it's going to be mostly Magic fans. I mean, the Cavs series was great because when we were home, it was like that place was loud. I mean, the Cavs have a decent fan base, but they're not the Celtics. Orlando isn't flooded with Celtics fans. It's like so many people move from that part of the country and live in Orlando. So even if we did the thing that like Detroit did, when I think that. Didn't they like say you couldn't buy tickets if you didn't live in Michigan or something like that to try to keep Knicks fans from flooding the building? It's like even if we did that and limited it to Florida fans, it's like those Celtics fans live in Orlando for the most part. I don't think they were traveling down, maybe some of them, but yeah, I think as we get better as a team, I think people will be, you just got to go to one of these games. I mean, I think probably the best atmosphere of any game this year was the play-in game where, when we went on that crazy run, I mean, that place was just going wild, and there certainly weren't a lot of Hawks fans there, so that was a little bit more indicative of like what the atmosphere could be when it's mostly Magic fans. And I think if more fans experienced that, they'd be like, I'm going to these games, I don't care, like I'm going to be there, it's going to be awesome. And hopefully that continues to be the case.
All right, I've got the ultimate test of your delusional optimism. I don't know, like what
okay.
scale of your optimism, if it's delusional or not here. Okay. It's July 27th as we're recording this, so the season is right around the corner. I'd love to hear a prediction. Drew Gooden, like give me like, you got a record in mind or you got like a playoff run in mind? Like how far can this team go? Like let's hear it right now. How delusional are you?
Let me open up. I want to look at the entire Eastern Conference before I do this, because I've done this in my head a couple times, and it's like if you think what are the teams above us this year, it's maybe the Knicks, maybe
Cavs, maybe again.
Yeah, definitely the Cavs. Cavs will probably be the 1 seed. It's like, is Milwaukee that much better? I don't think so. The Pacers, I can't imagine, without Halliburton the whole year, and the Celtics too, like they'll both take a step back. It's like I guess the Hawks, they made some good moves. I think we're in a similar boat with them where it's kind of wait and see how these moves pan out. And maybe, Atlanta and Orlando are kind of like neck and neck for the 3 seed. That's probably my like lukewarm prediction is like 3 or 4 seed. But if I'm a little bit more optimistic, I could see us winning the East. I don't think it's that strong and that stacked with the 2 teams, the Knicks and the Cavs above us. All it takes is one weird injury and us being on the positive side of that luck, so it's definitely possible. And I think if we're as long as we're like one of the top 3 seeds, if we're healthy for the playoffs, I think we can beat any of these teams. I think, I don't think we could win the finals this year. Anything could happen. I think the path to the finals is possible. But like, if we went up against this version of the Thunder team, I don't know if we win in 7. I don't know if, whoever's making it out of the West, but I think we could make it to the finals. I think we could make it maybe a safer prediction, the Eastern Conference Finals. I think we could definitely win a playoff series, maybe 2, get on a roll. But it comes down to chemistry. It comes down to how well Desmond Bane fits, and the guys staying healthy, and Franz remembering how to shoot, and but I think Paolo is just going to keep getting better, and that's really, I think we go as far, our ceiling is as high as his is as a player. If he just continues to leap into superstardom, and then it's like we just need everyone else to be pretty good because he's gonna take over in the playoffs, and so yeah, I would say top 3 without barring like any crazy injuries for most of the year. I think top 3 is almost guaranteed. I don't want to use that word, but I feel that's about as optimistic as I get. Like around 50 wins, top 3 seed. We'll see.
Yeah, with Atlanta, it's interesting because like they did make a lot of moves, but they made a lot of moves. Like like adding Porzingis, and I'm forgetting the like Nickeil Alexander-Walker and like some of the other stuff, and they're getting Jalen Johnson back, and hopefully he'll be healthy. But like they have a lot to kind of like figure out and get everybody acclimated and then decide really how they're going to play and whose role is what. With the Magic, like I don't want to say it's a seamless fit because it's a big move adding Bane into the mix and Tyus Jones into the second unit, and there's some other stuff to figure out. But at this point, I kind of do have us just like a half step above Atlanta, at least to start the season, because it feels like we have more continuity and have more of like a real identity, and everybody kind of knows what they're going to be asked to do. And then when you look at Cleveland, like what did they win? It was like 64 games.
64, yeah.
Yeah, so 64 games. And sometimes you'll get those teams that like come out of nowhere and they're like, oh, well, we have the 1 seed. Like we're just going to go all out to try to win as many games as we can, secure the 1 seed. Now they fizzle out in the second round, and it's, well, okay, we kind of, this year we want to pace ourselves a bit more because we want to have like a deeper, postseason run. So sometimes you'll see those teams kind of come back down to earth. So I'm right there with you. Like Atlanta, the Knicks, the Cavs, us, all gonna be, so like I think it's gonna be relatively close at the top, and I don't think it's crazy to think that the Magic can win the East. So, Drew, we appreciate the time. Before we let you go, I do have one question. I know we have you on here, and we get to separate like you from what you normally do from this, but something that I've just kind of always wondered as a fan of you and your work, like what is your most favorite video that you've either like the completed process was the thing that you're the most satisfied with, or was like the most fulfilling while you were working on it? Like what has been your most favorite project out of everything that you've done?
That's a good question. I think it changes every so often. I would say I was really proud of the AI one I made last summer because that seemed like that resonated with a lot of people. It seemed like it was, everyone's talking about AI now, but it did seem like I was, a little bit more at the forefront of that, of being like, we agree this kind of sucks, right, guys? And everyone's like, yes, finally. And then I think for like a full project, I think the one I made about Ninja, I'm still really proud of. That was fun, just doing the I watched that one again recently. Yeah, and then I had blue hair for 4 months, and a lot of people were like, "You got to hand it to him." He committed. And I think, going to the lengths I did for that, like, I would love to do something like that again if I just had the right idea, because it is fun to just like go all out for something and have people kind of be like, enjoying a video, and then also be like, just kind of shocked that you did the thing that you did. So. That might be number one still. But speaking of Ninja, I actually have his cotton candy G Fuel. It expired, but friend gave this to me, and it's one of my dearest possessions now. So
there you go.
I will never drink it.
Love that. Speaking of videos, I was going to say that protein worked. I can see you get a little swole from the protein.
Yeah. Yeah, it turns out you just got to eat a bunch of protein. You don't even have to go to the gym, man. It's crazy.
Yep. That's awesome.
No, I go to the gym sometimes, but it's always if I had the consistency, it'd be great. It's like I think we can all relate to like getting really amped up and like I'm gonna turn everything around, and then maybe you make it 2 weeks, and then you're like, I miss fast food, man. It's always a battle, but
Well, I know a lot of our listeners like get really excited for this episode that we get to do with you each year because they are, big fans of what you do. But if you're not, I'm going to plug Drew here. You really should be, because not only is he like incredibly funny, like hilarious, like I've used this before, but I like guffaw, like full, like laugh out loud, sitting here watching your videos, here in my office. But not only are you hilarious, but you do such a good job of like getting to the point and why like the thing that you're making fun of like why you're doing it and why it's important. So always appreciate that. But give yourself a quick little plug if you want, people to be able to find you on social media, find your work, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's very nice for you to say. Yeah, if you want to watch some videos about a whole slew of topics, it's just kind of whatever I'm passionate about at the time. Drew Gooden on YouTube. If you haven't seen any of them, maybe start with the ninja one. I think that's a pretty fun video. I guess I kind of spoiled the ending, but maybe you weren't listening then, and then you can go watch it, and then it wasn't spoiled. So I don't know. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Well, Drew, again, man, appreciate talking to you always. Look forward to seeing you at some Magic games this year and Magic wins, and maybe even someday a parade. Who knows? Have you let yourself like daydream about that at all? Like the Magic actually winning a title?
We got to win a playoff series first.
Fair.
and then I'll start daydreaming about that. Yeah, I think I'm daydreaming about like that Celtics game. I went to 3 and 4 and we won 3, and there were a lot of like really cocky Celtics fans on the way out. It's like, we're still winning in 5, and we were like, no, and then they did win in 5. So even just like getting to snap back at some fans of some of the other teams that I don't like. Maybe that's what I daydream about more. Is just being like, actually, it's our turn now, Boston.
That's right.
Right.
I don't
know.
Well, but yeah,
Drew, you're the best. We really appreciate everything, and yeah, looking forward to this season, just like everybody else. And yeah, let's at least win a playoff series. That'd be great. So thanks,
absolutely.
Drew.
Thank you.
Once again, our boy Drew Gooden. Always appreciate getting his insight, hearing him talk about his perspective, and also just kind of fun getting to kind of get a peek behind the curtain at what he does. And again, as awesome and great and as all the success in the world that he has and his profession, like him just being one of the guys is like one of my like most favorite things. And was awesome seeing him at the unveiling, getting able to like sit next to him and him seeing everything as we're seeing things for the first time. And he like legitimately just is like a diehard Magic fan, and so much fun having him on the show, and always appreciate him taking the time.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We try our best on this show to promote, brands and companies that love the Magic, right? And Drew Gooden's no exception. He's got his own brand, his YouTube channel. And so if you want to go support a guy who's a diehard Magic fan, and obviously, as you can tell watching the show, a true diehard Magic maniac. If you want to go support him, go check him out on YouTube and social media, because that's his livelihood, So if you've never watched him, by the way, you won't regret it. Very funny, very entertaining, and but yeah, diehard Magic fan, which you love to see.
Love Drew Gooden. Really appreciate him taking the time. That's pretty much all that we have for this one. Don't forget, if you have any interest in hosting the Six Fan Show, the link will be in the YouTube description or in the podcast description for the Google form that we'll need you to fill out if you want to be considered for that role. And then get your questions in for the Anything But Magic pod that's coming out on Thursday. We'll be recording that Wednesday night. So try to get that in, like mid-Wednesday afternoon at latest to make sure that we can see that. But Kev, anything that I'm missing before we go ahead and officially close this one?
Well, actually, something just happened as you were finishing that sentence.
Oh, my goodness.
Really, really fast. Really, really fast. So this thing on X or Twitter where people are asking Grok, like, who visited your profile,
Sure.
I just did it while we were doing this outro just to see what happens. You know who they told me is the most famous person to visit my X profile?
Drew Gooden?
Shaquille O'Neal.
Your X profile?
Mine. Not even the show. My personal one.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious if we should just do it from the pod to see.
I think we should now.
Who has. And I have to do it for my personal now. That's crazy.
Yeah. I'm blown away. Like,
wow.
That's wild.
You know
so
what?
Anyway.
We're going to do. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute now. We're going to do this.
I'm going to do it live?
We're going to do this from the pod right now.
What if it's something bad? We have to cut this out of the episode. We'll see.
This is a live show that we're doing here. I'm trying to.
That's so funny.
Okay, there we go.
So let me just backtrack, just in case people aren't on social media. While
sure.
It'll take a minute or so for it to do this. So on Twitter or X, there's a thing going on. So Twitter X has their own AI bot called Grok, and so apparently there's this new thing people have unlocked. You can ask Grok, like, what is the most famous person or like the most followed account that has viewed your profile and its history? And we've seen all kinds of crazy stuff. And like I said, apparently Shaq's looked at my profile at some time, which is just wild. So what
interesting.
Jonathan is doing, he just asked Grok, what famous person or persons has viewed our Six Man Show official profile there on Twitter. And so, like I said, it's going to take maybe a minute or so. And it's going to be very interesting to see if Shaq visited mine, who visited the Six Man Show. So we'll see. Do you have any guesses? I have one.
I would guess it's probably going to be Shaq.
Well,
maybe
I
not
wonder,
probably, but I don't know who could be more famous than Shaq that would visit our profile.
Well, you remember Kevin Durant used one of our videos.
True.
And so I wonder if that counted as a view, if he came to our profile. I don't know. Sure. I know he got it from a different source, but our video from our account was linked in the tweet. So I'm wondering if it's my prediction might be Kevin Durant. That's going to be my.
If you're at this point in the episode, if you don't care about this conversation, you can just close it right now because this is going to be the last few minutes of the pod here as we're still waiting for this. But I'm curious as to what Grok considers the most famous, because we're not saying the person with the most followers or I'm just curious. I haven't really looked into it too much in terms of how it decides who is the most famous.
The answer.
Hold on, don't answer. Let me look. Kenny Beecham, our guy. Love that. Kenny Beecham. So Shaq maybe has not seen the profile apparently.
I guess.
Kenny Beecham, the GOAT. Enjoy basketball. Numbers on the board. ESPN's very own friend of the show. Been on the pod before. Kenny Beecham, our guy. Now I'm curious. I'm going to do this on my own personal profile as well to see who it is. But Kevin, what a pull.
That's a crazy pull. That's a really crazy pull. Selfless shameless plug, by the way. Just go follow us. If you don't follow us on social media, not just the Six Man Show, but follow our personals too on Twitter there at least, because if it's good enough for Shaq, it's good enough. Just kidding. It's funny and ironic because Shaq's kind of in the doghouse with a lot of us Magic fans right now. So it's kind of ironic that
he probably knows that you've been talking smack.
Maybe he watches the show and wanted to stalk me and chase me down. But you can follow me at Kevin_Tucker_ and follow Jonathan. I think it's J_Osborne21. Did I get that right?
That is correct.
What a great friend I am. All right.
And our boy Kenny Beecham, for those of you who may or may not know Kenny Beecham, millions of YouTube subscribers across all of his platforms, 500,000 followers on Twitter, tons of followers on Instagram, basically one of the flagship personalities of the Numbers on the Board podcast, has been on ESPN First Take, owns and runs Enjoy Basketball. Numbers on the Board is a ESPN podcast and show that has been on ESPN and ESPN2. So if you're not familiar with our boy Kenny Beecham, please go ahead and be sure to check that out. But that fun little way to end the episode. But that's officially going to do it for this one. Once again, thank you to our friend Drew Gooden. And for Kevin Tucker, this has been Jonathan Osborne. You all have been listening to the Six Man Show, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Sixth Man Show. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Spotify to get new episodes downloaded directly to your phone. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to give us a 5-star rating and a review. It helps out the show a lot. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Sixth Man Show. We'll catch you guys next time. Go Magic!